we're going to look at some of the components, the basic components of Festive frames. The first thing I'm going to do is to put on the gloves that you will find in the kit, or you will find in the kit. The reason we use these gloves, apart from the fact they keep your hands warm when you like to be putting up your sculpture in November or whenever, or taking it down in January, they protect you against any sharp bits that may happen. Very rare, but if you did have a breakage, they protect you against that. But most importantly, they give you some good grip, and that grip is, you'll find that you can grip far better with the gloves on than you can without. So some of the basic components of the kit. There are two different types of pole, very simple, and they both intrinsically look the same, as you can see. One is a rigid pole. Now this is made of fiberglass, and there are various different lengths, and they're all colour coded, and you'll see that in the instruction book. This is a solid pole. It's made specifically to our specifications. It's not like a tent pole. Tent poles are hollow, they're designed to bend and be retained within a sleeve. This is not the same sort of thing. This is designed to our specification. It's a rigid pole, and it's designed to be rigid. They're done in a 70 centimetre, you'll see in the list, 70 centimetre, 58, a 52 and a half, a 34, 17 and a half, right down to the smallest one, which is a 10 centimetre. And you'll use all of them depending on the designs that you decide to go for. On the other hand, you've got the flexi poles. Now this is a different sort of material. It looks the same side by side, so when they're actually fitted into a connector, they look the same, but these are flexible. So these don't offer any structural support. These need the rigid poles to create the framework, let's say, and then it's these that put the magic into your sculptures. These are what put all the shapes in. Now when you get them, and the first time you open them out, they'll go all lovely and straight, and you think, oh, that's great. And then the first time you use them, after you've used them, what's going to happen is that they're going to be bent. Do not worry about that. That is fine. It's got a short-term, what they call a short-term memory, a bit like myself. And it just remembers the last shape it was put into. As soon as you start to reform it, it'll change its shape. So then with the poles, going on from the poles, we've got then the connectors, and there's 6 different types of connector, and we've designed these all ourselves to fit in with this system. The one connector that you will use the most of is this one. It is what we call the 5-way. For obvious reasons, it's got 5 holes, and fitting into them, whether it be the flexibles or the rigid poles, is the same. It's pretty straightforward stuff. So that's the 5-way connector. It's flat on one side for a reason, which we'll come on to on another video, or possibly later in this one. One step up is the 6-way connector. That's the same basic connector, it just has the extra hole on the bottom there, so that can be used internally in the center of frame where you need to have poles coming out in all directions. Then what we call the parallel. Now this one was specifically made for a design which you'll see called mini arches. A mini arch basically is a pole in the floor like this, and it goes into the central hole like that, and it fits in, and it means then that you've got still 2 holes on the top and 2 holes on the bottom available to you. So if you then have another one over here, you can then take a flexible and go from there over to the next one, and so on, and also underneath if you want to make circles or hearts or whatever shape you want to design. It gives you lots of flexibility. That's why we've got 3 holes at one end and 2 holes on the other. It also has 2 smaller holes. What are they for? Well, one of them is because sometimes you may want to put a connection on a pole that just doesn't fit into the sizes that you've got. That happens. So that hole's there for you to be able to have it wherever you want to fit it. When you fit them onto the flexi is 1/10 of a millimetre difference. In fact, it's not even 1/10 to the rigid pole, so it holds it tighter. So if you can see with that, it holds it tight, and in another video we'll start to show you why that is. There is then also a little hole, and that little hole there is if you wanted just to put a screw or a nail into a fence post, onto a fence panel, a tree or whatever, because you've created a shape. That little hole is spare, and that's what it's there for. It just allows you to make a fixing of your own. That's the parallel. Then we've got the three-way, which is a corner piece, basically nice and neat, obvious again, three ways. It goes like that. So if you make a structure where you don't need 5 ways and you've got surplus holes, utilize the three-way. It just makes it look a little bit neater. We then have what we call the straight. The straight is designed again by ourselves, and it has marks on there for us to get different angles and all sorts of tricks that you'll see in the instructions. It also has a hole through the middle, so again that can go onto a pole, or it can be fitted onto a bolted system like the clamp, which I'll show you in a second, because it has the same fitting. And so you can make up combinations of straights with clamps. You can even incorporate parallels. There's loads of options. You'll learn about it as you go, and you'll make up your own stuff. But this is the flexibility of the system. And finally, we've got the clamp. Now the clamp is probably one of the best features that we've got. It's made up of 2 pieces that are shaped exactly the same. Then it has basically a bolt through the middle. We put a locking washer in the middle there. If you can see that, just there in the middle is a locking washer. You don't need that, but in certain circumstances you're going to have a frame that is under certain stress, especially with arches and that just helps to tighten it. Now what this clamp does is you can use it obviously with either of the poles, either the rigid poles or the flexi poles. It means you can then start to clamp down at any point on any of the poles. You can clamp them in and create any angle, so that tightens down. Now if I just slacken that off, you'll see that I can go from any angle, that way, this way. It's a 360 degree fitting now, but more than that, in the kit are some 55mm bolts, and that means you can add a third one of these. So now all of a sudden you can have 3 there. So it gives you so much flexibility. So basically that covers the components. We try to keep it as simple and as few as possible, and you will see as you start to look through the instructions and start to work with it that these cover the angles that we need and all the areas that we need to create the sculptures.